Number 45 is Critter Kitchen. Critter Kitchen is the best cooking game I've seen so far. There's a lot of cooking games on the market, but this is the best one so far. But they're all almost the same. It's recipe fulfillment, resource management type cards or type games. This one looks really nice. It's also by Cardboard Alchemy, which this game is different than the rest of them. That with the plates and the scoring, because you're all just, it's a worker placement where you're deciding which worker goes where. There's a large worker, medium worker, slow worker. The slow worker, which is small, goes faster, but they can only bring one ingredient back. Medium workers go after all the slow workers. Medium workers go after the small workers, and they can actually grab two things, and then the large workers will go last, but they can grab the most amount of things. So they're kind of like cleanup crew. And there's different locations, there's different items that pop up, and depending on the player count, you will have to like kind of sacrifice one of your workers. You have to choose and one of the workers not to use. I think the game peaks, I think, at like 4 or 5 players. 6 players was a lot, and sacrificing a worker felt bad. It took longer to do what you want to do, but the board doesn't increase an exponential amount based on the workers that you have available. So keep that in mind. All in all, the base version does just fine. The deluxe version just adds 3D meeples, which isn't needed, but I know a lot of people really, really like the designed full version of all these extra chefs you can get, because there's a whole section of the game where you can grab extra chefs for like one-turn uses, and you get them 3D versus cardboard if you do the deluxe edition, amongst some other things like the printed out tokens or something like that. I don't fully understand what the deluxe added, but the game wasn't bad. The game was fun. It was not quick. It took about like 90 minutes to 2 hours, but just know it is, in my opinion, still the best like chef game on the market above Cryptid Kitchen or Cryptid Cafe and some other ones that I played but weren't like the best. Number 44 is Super Pixel Tactics. Super Pixel Tactics is a 1v1 game based on the isometric tactics games that are present in the Game Boy Advance PSP era. Reminiscent of like Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a video game if you don't know anything about it. It requires a good amount of reading, and depending on what row you put certain cards in, because you have a front row, middle row, and back row, you have 9 spots you can put cards. You're trying to kill the opponent's commander. It's a direct 1v1, so you'll play a card in a round. You will activate some cards in your round, and then depending on the row they're in, they have different abilities. So each card is multi-use for 3 or 4, maybe 5 different uses. Because any card can be the commander, any card can be a worker, any card can be used for like a spell or one of their other one-time effects. So there's a lot of uses for these cards, but it's a fun game. I do enjoy it. I know other people that enjoy it a lot more, but I would like to see this done. And I don't know, I would like to see the boss mode. They have a solo boss mode now that I wanted to try out, but I couldn't understand it from the rulebook that was sent over. But I would really like to try that solo mode. I think that would be a good use of the game that they designed, with like the adventure mode of going through the world and doing different quests. And so yeah, that is Super Pixel Tactics at number 44. Number 43 is Art Society, which if you don't know is a bidding game. In this game, Art Society, you are bidding on which on like your priority for grabbing pieces. The pieces are polyomino, and you're putting it into your mantle. You're kind of like a rich person or like an art connoisseur that's trying to have like the best collection. You have an eye line, which gives you bonus points for how many pieces you have in there of the right type. And you want to utilize the best amount of spaces. There are huge pictures, there's small pictures, there's different pictures. The value goes up and down based on what's left over in the market. And it's cool. I think that the bidding was left something to be desired, and the polyomino is not truly polyomino, because you have like a 2x1 piece, a 4x4 piece. It's more Lego than polyomino in my opinion, but it's low complexity with and because of the market, it has high replayability depending on the players you play against, depending on what's revealed in each time, because whoever I think wins the round gets to place the whatever tiles they want in the market for people to choose from, so you gotta control the market that way. So there's cool things in that game I haven't seen almost any other game do, which is why it has a higher spot in my list, even though it wasn't one of my favorite ones. Yeah, 43 is a solid ranking for me. Number 42 is Tearable Quest, which I'm doing a video on very soon, so stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see more about this game. Tearable Quest is one of Allplay's new tiny box games, even though it's on a much larger box, but it's kind of like a roll and write, except it's kind of a tear game. It's called Tearable Quest because you have a sheet of paper and you're ripping the pieces of paper based on the icons you need to fulfill recipes to kill monsters. So you're going to, if you need a sword with a ghost, you need to tear that out perfectly without getting any other icons on your pieces of paper. This is definitely one of the most innovative games I've seen in a long time. I've been waiting for a new mechanic to be out in board games for a bit, and this definitely is a new mechanic that I would love to see utilized more often. I would love to make a game with this mechanic. I said it relentlessly, and I really do want to try, because this isn't done very often. And no, you can't just print and play it, because the paper doesn't tear as well. The paper doesn't tear as easily. But this game it's fun, it's cool. It just isn't as replayable as I wish it was, but there is a easy and hard mode to this game, so you are able to play it at the very least twice with completely different experiences, not to mention different boss cards, the different monster cards that show up. So there is replayability for sure, no denying that. There's just not as much as I'd like to, because I like the game so much. And that's Tearable Quest at 42. Number 41, going a full 180, is Galactic Cruise. If you don't know Galactic Cruise, it's a huge game by Kinston Key. They are a new publisher. This is their first game. They worked on it for about 3 years straight. They're a great team. Respect them very much with what they do. They put a lot of heart and soul in their game, which is always telling whenever a publisher does it. You can always tell how much love they put into the game. I heard it's like a Knizia game, without being by Knizia. It's like a light version of his games, which his games are very heavy. This is more like medium heavy. It wasn't super difficult. It wasn't very hard to understand everything going on, but it did take like an hour teach to fully have the teacher explain every single action, every single change, everything that could happen, all the different types, what you should be able to do, blah, blah, blah. So it is a big teach, but the game plays not horribly. Like, it's not arduous. It doesn't super overstay its welcome or anything like that. If anything, you kind of want one more turn to see if you can launch again. I suck at the game 100%, but I'd play it again. It wasn't a bad experience, to be fully honest. So everyone speaks highly of this game with good right. This game has a lot of love in it. Number 40 is Blokus. Blokus is a classic game that I didn't know anything about until 2018. One of the volunteers on our team, Ashley, it's her favorite game of all time. For her birthday, she played it like 2 or 3 times with us. It's a game where everyone has polyamino pieces, true polyamino pieces of different colors, and you place it on your board starting off in your corner. You want to play this game with 4 players. It is peak with 4 players unless you play Blokus Duo, which is specifically designed for 2 players. But Blokus is played best of 4 players. Everyone gets 1 color. Everyone gets all the polyaminos of the exact same type. Everyone has the exact same polyaminos in each other's piles. You place 1 in your corner, and then you want to have the most amount of tiles played on the board. Every tile you don't play, each cube is minus 1 point. So you want to get as many cubes on the board as possible. And basically, if you there is a potential chance for shared victory, because if 2 players do it, then they both win. But realistically, it's not going to happen, especially with 2 people who are really good at this game. This game isn't higher because it's dependent on the same thing. It depends on the people you're playing with. I've played with people who specifically just want to hurt me, or specifically just want to hurt another player, which significantly skews their game. Undoubtedly, but sometimes that's the strategy, I guess, with these games, with free-for-all games, and you got to play around it. And it's nice because you have to play on the board based on the corner touching. You can't play adjacent to one of your pieces. It has to be the corners of the pieces, which is completely opposite most times, because usually it has to be adjacency touching, not diagonally touching. But this game makes you use the most amount of space of this board. I would love to design a game that uses some kind of polyamino piece, truly. Let me know if you know any other game like Blokus, because the only one I can think of really is like Junk Drawer. Junk Drawer, I think, is a great game that would rank better than Blokus. It does rank better than Blokus for me because you're not affected by other players, like a solitaire game, high score based game. And I really like those kinds of games because it's a game everyone can play at once and then see who wins without having to affect each other too much. Anyways, Blokus is a good game at number 40. Number 39 is Better Letters. So Play Disease, one of their new games, is a word-based game with a shared board, but the shared board isn't like a negative in this version. Better Letters is a word-based game, which is obvious from the Better Letters. Everyone has a shared space of 3x3 or 3x4 or 4x4 grid, depending on what round you're in and depending on player count. And your aim is to make the most creative word, utilizing the rules on the table. The only issue with this game is because of the layout. It's hard to see some of the rules on the table than other players, and you only have, I think, 2 minutes to read everything and then write a word down. But if you play it nicer, people can look at the board ahead of time and have a semblance of a word in their head when they start planning. For each rule, you have done in an orthogonal manner, meaning which each side of the square touching and going along a contiguous line, contiguous meaning continuous without being broken up. You place one of your cubes down, and if you're the only one who gets that rule, you get the full point value. If someone else has a shared rule with you, you get -1 point with a minimum of 1 point for each rule that you did. There's different ability cards that give some async, what's it called? Some asymmetric gameplay. So like you're going for a specific rule set potentially. However, those rules can be either objectively better or worse than some other players. I wouldn't use those in my opinion, because the game can get too wonky depending on who got lucky with their draws or not. Some words are really easy to hit, some words are really hard to get, or some rules are really easy, really hard to get. And if you have to get points based on these extra rules, it can be very difficult. So Better Letters, number 39, pretty solid ranking for a pretty solid word game. Number 38 is Biomos. If you don't know Biomos, it's a game by North Star Games. It's a tile placement game technically. You will draft a circle which has different types of terrain. You're trying to terraform a planet properly and fulfill certain objectives based on how it's played. Once a tile is placed there, it has to stay there in that orientation forever. They're just circles going around your planet, and you can have one on the side forever that will give you like a bonus based on the end of the game depending on how much you have. It's nice, it's light, it's cool. I like the board, it's creative, it's unique. In Florida, the board's warped though, so it's hard to keep everything in line. But I like it. It's neat. I'll say that much. It really is neat. And it's pretty quick. It's a game you want to run back at least once when you try to play it for the first time. So if you don't know Biomos and you know North Star Games, definitely check out Biomos by North Star Games. Number 37 is Canvas. Canvas is a great game. It's very pretty. It's a game where it's a card builder game, but you can't really call it a card builder because I'm pretty sure Mystic Vale has copyrighted that term. What you do in that game is you're going to draft cards based on the same way Spice Road has drafting. You can grab the first card for free or play one of your resources, which I think are just the paint holders. On each card you're not picking up to pick up a card in the line. And then you're using those cards. You're using 3 of those cards because you have to use at least 3 cards to build a painting that fulfills the same shared objectives everyone has. The more ribbons you have of that shared objective, the more that shared objective scores for you at the end of the game. The deluxe version doesn't add too much to the gameplay, to be fully honest. You can get everything in the base game for like, you can get it used for 10 or 15 bucks. You can get it new for 15 bucks sometimes, depending on the deal you get, which is pretty cool. But the expansions apparently make it a better game. I've only played the base game, but I played it a lot of times to know that the game has a lot of replayability. The objectives get significantly harder, so I would say don't even worry about the easy objectives when you play for the first time. Just play with whatever objectives you draw out and have a good, unique gameplay. No matter what, you make pretty pictures. It doesn't really matter who wins or loses, because at the end of the day, you still felt like you did something, which is what, in my opinion, kind of helps make a game great. Now, another game from 25th Century. There's a lot of 25th Centuries on this game, on this list. That's kind of crazy. 25th Century did Dracula vs. Van Helsing at number 36. Now, this game, I was told by so many people, is their best 2-player game of all time. And I did not believe in whatsoever. I'm like, there's no shot that so many people can agree on the same thing. I don't know how this has to be like a huge marketing tactic, something like that, by 25th Century, or I don't know. This can be right. And when people tell me to play a game, I get less excited the more I hear about it. But this game was so good, I decided to grab some copies to sell for Caravan Convoy, which is our annual board game convention. And we sold out very quickly. This game, after me playing it, it's a great game. Now, too many 2-player games have gone the way of trick-taking, which is weird because growing up in Kansas with classic card games, not too many of them. I didn't think trick-taking for 2 players was even possible, to be fully honest. But this game was a great 1v1 game where you can change the winning suit of the card. And the cards aren't even cards, they're like tiles, which make it just a little bit thicker, which added more of a value to that game. It's a nice 1v1. Someone plays as Dracula, someone plays as Van Helsing. Van Helsing has to kill Dracula before the end of the game, and Dracula has to either stall till the 7th round or turn all the win one trick 4 times in the same location. So Dracula is going to take at least 4 turns to win, most likely the entire game, and Van Helsing can actually do some great stuff to try to kill Dracula in a couple rounds, but very unlikely. It's a great game. It can be a little bit lucky based on what you draw, but that happens in any game with cards. That's why the game's a little bit lower on my list, but this really was, up until recently, my number 1 board game of all time. So keep that known. This is a great, number 1 2-player board game of all time. It really is that good.